Hi everyone, it's Evangeline here at eTrailer, and today we'll be taking a look at our RockyMounts MonoRail 2-bike platform rack here on our 2022 Honda Odyssey. So this is a very popular bike rack just because it has a lot of boxes it checks off. It has really good weight capacity, it can carry fat tire bikes, it can carry carbon fiber frame bikes, tilts away, has locks, things like that. So we'll talk about those different specs and measurements, but we are going to focus on our Honda Odyssey today. That way you can see how everything fits together. So the first feature we'll take a look at is the tilt away feature. We have this big blue lever here. Since our ground clearance is kind of low, we're going to have to reach down to pull the lever. But once we have, we just let that bike rack drop to a tilt. Why would you tilt your bike rack away? Well, if you want to be able to open up your hatch or your door. So see here how we have clearance between our pedals and just barely there with our handlebars. We had about 2 or 3 inches of clearance there. Now we can reach into our trunk and grab whatever we need. So whether it's our helmets, our backpacks, our waters, we can grab those real quick and then just press this lever or that button. You can see again how much clearance we have. Then the door closes, and then all you need to do is lift up on the rack and it snaps into place. This has a 60-pound weight capacity per bike, so if you have your extra heavy electric bikes, perfectly fine. Also, with the way that this holds down your bikes, you can carry bikes of different shapes and sizes. So for example, we have 2 different touch points. One is going to be our rear wheel strap. The other is going to be our front wheel mount. So I like pretty much any bike rack that has a front wheel mount because of the versatility. If I have a carbon fiber frame bike compared to other racks that have a frame mount, this is not going to warp or crack my frame. Also, if you have alternate frame bikes, let's say your women's frames, your step-through frames, your children's bikes, you don't need to get a separate frame adapter bar because of that front wheel mount. Now, when you want to take your bike off, you actually start at the rear wheel strap. You just press that bright blue lever, lift the strap all the way out, and then just keep it over to the side so it doesn't get caught up in the spokes. Then you go over to the front, hold on to your frame as you press the other blue button or lever, lift up on that mount, push that out, and from here you can grab your bike and go on a bike ride. With the bike off, we can take a closer look at the rack itself. So here we have our rear cradle. This can tilt back and forth to accommodate different wheelbases. The maximum wheelbase is going to be up to 48 inches. Look as well at how shallow our cradle is. That's because that's for different tire widths. So whether you have your thin road bike tires or your really wide fat bike tires of up to 5 inches, this can carry that. Here we have our front wheel cradle, and this sits up like that just to give that extra support for your front wheel. But when your bike is off, you fold that down to be all nice and compact and neat. Then we have our front wheel mount. This is not padded, but it does have a little bit of a texture to give yourself some grip on your front tire. What I like to do when I fold it away is just to put it behind our rear cradle. Now this is going to add a little bit of length to the back of our Odyssey. So let's take some measurements to see exactly how much. I'm going to measure from our bumper here to the end of the rack, and that sits at 31 inches. So if you're backing into your garage or trying to park into a tight spot, that's going to be about the length you're going to have to think about. You already kind of have a longer vehicle, so that is something if you have your smaller garages. Now you actually have the ability to expand upon this bike rack with the RockyMounts add-on. So if you do want to carry an extra bike with this rack, you can add that on real quick. It works the same way, but with more bikes. Now the Odyssey has a pretty low hitch receiver, so let's take some measurements for ground clearance. That's going to be measured at the end of the rack to the ground, 19¼ inches. Compare that measurement though to the shank, and that is 10½ inches. So when you're going up those steep inclines, like your driveways or hills, your front goes up, your back goes down, and you want to make sure you have enough ground clearance so your bikes don't hit the ground. So this has that shank rise, so your bikes are higher up off the ground. Another good thing though is with the Odyssey, since it is kind of low to the ground, that also means that your bikes don't have to be lifted high up. So for your 60-pound bikes, you only need to lift them 22.5 inches to get them into the cradles. Now, what if you're not planning on going out for a bike ride just yet, but you also don't want to take your bike rack off? What you can do is you can fold this bike rack up. So to do so, you have this bright blue lever. You're going to want to pull that lever, lift up on the rack, that snaps into place. So taking some measurements here, the closest point is going to be from our bumper to our cradle, and that's 2 inches away. The next measurement is going to be the length added now to the back of our vehicle. So that's from the bumper to the end of the rack, about 11.5 inches. So if you're driving around town and you don't want to take up too much space, let's say you need to park real quick in a really tight spot, this is going to be very helpful for that. But what is it like living with a bike rack behind you all the time? Well, with it folded up like this, notice how it doesn't really cover any of your rear window or your taillights. Your license plate though, you can see that the main part of the eTrailer sits right there where our mast is. So that is kind of covered. Now our backup camera though sits right above that mount, which is going to be very helpful. What is going to happen is that when you see through your rear view camera, you'll kind of see the bike rack behind you, but you'll also still be able to see the view behind you. So my personal thoughts about the RockyMounts MonoRail is you could definitely see how this is a fan favorite because of all of those features and the versatility. If you have your extra heavy electric bikes, or if you have a step-through frame, this is going to be very helpful for you. But if you have all your friends or all your family in your Honda Odyssey and you need to be able to carry around more bikes, as you can see, this is a 2-bike platform rack. You might be interested in something else like the add-on for this, or the Hollywood Racks Destination, or even the ability to carry 5 bikes with something like the Kurt Premium hanging style bike rack. So hopefully this video helped you out with seeing how everything works. We have really good tilt-away clearance. We have all the K-blocks. We have all the weight capacity with the RockyMounts MonoRail 2-bike platform rack on the 2022 Honda Odyssey. Here on our test course, we'll start by going through the slalom. This is going to show us the side-to-side action, which simulates turning corners or evasive maneuvers. Once we get to the alternating speed bumps, we'll see the twisting action. This will simulate hitting a curb or a pothole or driving over uneven pavement. Now lastly, we're going over some full speed bumps, and we can see here the up and down action. And this will just be like driving in and out of a parking lot, garage, or driveway.